What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday. We're back at it again. Another week of pick and predictions. This last week was crazy. Tons of crazy games. Even not so crazy games like USC losing to Maryland and Maryland storming the field. It was a great weekend. Great weekend. Seeing Tennessee win with a backup quarterback was very interesting to see against the elite Alabama. But we're going to start here off with the Syracuse Pitt game. It's going to be Thursday night, right there alongside NFL Thursday Night Football. But I had Pitt coming up on top in this game. I originally thought about putting Syracuse above Pitt, but Syracuse has not really been performing the best. They only have one loss, but I do think that Pitt right now, in the grand scheme of things of the ACC, I think it'd be much cooler to have Pitt win this game. I think this game is going to be I essentially think it's going to be a flip of the coin because Pitt doesn't really blow teams out, so they kind of like let teams just stick around way too often. So I think it's going to be very close. I have it 35-31. Next game we have is a Friday night, late night, 10:30, Boise State versus UNLV. I originally had this at the beginning of the season. I had UNLV undefeated versus Boise State undefeated at this one, but one loss to UNLV won't hurt, but UNLV did lose to Syracuse, and that was not good look for them. So I don't think they're going to be getting in the ranks unless they beat Boise, but I just don't see it happening. The spread has -2.5. I know we're in Las Vegas, but I just don't think Boise State is going to really keep them in the game. I think Boise State is going to really try to run up the score on the UNLV because UNLV is the second best team in the Mountain West, and they need to show that they are the superior group of 5 team. So I have them winning 42-28. They've been running up the score on many teams. They've been scoring tons of points, but I do think UNLV is not going to let them just score without scoring some points back. So I have it 42-28 in this one. First Saturday night game at noon Eastern we have is Ohio State versus the Huskers. This could have been a very interesting game. Nebraska could have been potentially ranked if they would have won last weekend against the undefeated Indiana, but they got absolutely destroyed. And the coach didn't really have good words of wisdom. He just said that they didn't play to their level, and it was very surprising that Nebraska just couldn't score on offense. And I just don't think it's good. I don't think it's their season. But it's not looking good after getting blown out by Indiana. I think they're going to get blown out by Ohio State. I have it at 36. I just have it above the spread because I think Ohio State's going to score more points. But I do think Nebraska's not going to score for as many points. 10 or less points on this game. So it's not going to be very fun to watch. Next new game we have is Navy versus Notre Dame. This is Navy's first opportunity to show what they have, coming in undefeated against a one-loss Notre Dame team. Potentially Notre Dame could have been undefeated as well coming in this game, but that drastic loss against Northern Illinois at the beginning of the season definitely does not help the cake, which is why I think that Notre Dame has been sitting around 12 for the last couple weeks now. They haven't been pushing to the top 10. They're sitting around that group of 5, like first one out. For this game, I think Navy's going to win it. I think Navy's going to come in with a level of energy, especially at home against a rival like Notre Dame. They're going to come in with the type of energy that we just don't really see out of this team. And I think Notre Dame kids are definitely saying to themselves probably that Navy is a Navy like they always been. They're going to run the ball. But I think Navy's going to come out and they're going to throw Notre Dame for a loop. So I do think that Navy's going to come out hot. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a very fun game. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the weekend, sitting at 28-26 for this one. Next new game we have is Indiana versus Washington. We're going to be in Indiana territory again. I think they're going to blow them out. I think Iowa can blow out Washington. I think Indiana can blow out Washington. I know that Washington is somewhat difficult sometimes, but Washington has been performing awful on the road when they got to go across the country. And going all the way to Indiana, I just don't think Washington's team is going to be able to handle this type of energy because, noon o'clock, that's 9 a.m. their time, and it's just that jet lag, and I think Indiana's going to take advantage and win this pretty commandingly like they did against the Huskers. And if Indiana really wants to get into the top 10, they need to blow this team out. They can't keep it close. If we want to see them break the top 10 for the first time in a long time, they need to blow this team out. This noon game we have is Ole Miss versus Oklahoma. I originally thought about doing an upset for this game, but Oklahoma for the last couple weeks have just been plain awful. I do think it's going to be a close game, though. I think that Oklahoma still has some life in them. Do I think that they were going to be able to capitalize on any early lead or potential lead near late in the game? No, I do not think so. I think Ole Miss still has some life in them. They're still technically in the running with only 2 losses, but they are 1-2 in the conference. So I just don't see them at all ever making it to the conference championship, so they have to win out just to get that good placement, maybe like 10th or 11th with those 2 losses, and they're in the SEC, so everyone loves the SEC, right? So I do have them winning against Oklahoma 24-17, but I do think Oklahoma's going to keep it close. Next rank on rank matchup we have is a 3:30 Eastern Time classic. We have Oregon versus Illinois. I wanted so bad to put Illinois as the upset alert for this game, but when you're out in Eugene, you have to cross the country to play them, and Illinois is like a team. It looks good on surface until you really dig into it. Illinois hasn't played anybody very good. Their only good team they played outside of Michigan was Penn State, and they lost that pretty handedly. But I will say, that Illinois did put up a fight in that game. But we're now later in the season, and they do have a chance of redemption against Oregon. I don't have an upset right now, but I do not think they're going to get blown out by Oregon. But this -21 is insane. If I was a betting man, I'd bet the under on this one. I think Oregon's going to win this 27-21. Next game at 3:30, we have UCF Knights versus BYU. Sitting pretty at number 11. They still haven't broken the top 10 just yet. They are undefeated. Iowa State got pushed back to number 10. I understand that the AP pollers don't have faith in the Big 12, but they are undefeated, and I do think they earn the respect that they deserve. I think BYU's going to handle business. BYU, similar to other teams on this list, have an issue of keeping teams in games. They need to learn how to just run with the game and blow teams out, which is why I have UCF here sitting at 27 points, because I think BYU is going to keep them close until the very end and then pick up some speed. But I have BYU winning 38-27 in this one. Bing, 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 bing. Alert the alarm bells. Alabama losing 3 games before the month of October is unheard of. But that's what I have here today. I have Missouri upsetting the Tide at home. I know Missouri has been looking sus. I know they keep getting push down the rankings, even though they're winning games, which is crazy because other teams don't get that same treatment. Like, i.e. Miami don't get that same treatment where they barely beat teams and they stay in the same rank they are. But Missouri keeps getting pushed back, to each their own. But I do have Missouri upsetting Alabama here. If you watched all the last 3 games of Alabama, you would know that close game against South Carolina, lost to Vandy, lost to backup quarterback at Tennessee. So I have Missouri. I know this is going to be a home game. I know this is going to be a redemption play, try to beat that ranked team, Missouri. But I have Missouri winning this 26-24. Mark my words. Bing, bing, bing. 4:15 Saturday. We have another upset. Ring the bells. I have Vandy. The Vandy dream is alive and well over here in Mikasa. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a blowout. I do have Vandy winning 30-28 on this one. I know Quentin Ewers was looking sus last week against... I know Quentin Ewers and Arch Manning were not performing the greatest. A lot of they're blaming the O-line per usual. You know, that's just respectable. But I do think Vandy's going to come out here and try to knock on the door here. Do I think Vandy's a better team? Do I think Vanderbilt has a better team than Texas? No. But I think Vandy has something to prove this year. I think Vandy barely losing in double overtime to Missouri and beating Alabama has shown that Vanderbilt is here to play and here to stay. And Vanderbilt has just entered the rankings. So I think that they have an opportunity here to beat number 5, Texas, at their own game. So I have them winning 30-28. I won't guarantee that. I wouldn't put a bet on it. But I do think it's going to be closer than at -17.5. Next big Saturday game, Saturday primetime we have is Miami versus Florida State. This could have been a classic. This could have been a great game. Florida State undefeated coming in. Big high hopes. Miami's Cam Ward, big hopes there. But then now this game has been reduced to nothing. I think Miami's going to blow this team out of the water. Florida State is awful. I'm surprised they even beat Cal. They should have 0 wins. I think Miami's going to come in here, win 40 to nothing, essentially. I put 3 points. Maybe their offense gets something. Maybe they don't. Blowouts are harder to have, especially when it comes to the garbage time points. So I do have Miami winning this pretty with ease. Next primetime game we have is Penn State versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin is coming. They have a pretty good season so far. Pretty good season marching down the field. They're not out of playoff contention just yet. But I don't think they're going to be able to compete with number 4 Penn State. At home, it's going to be competitive. I do think they're going to score some points. I do think it's going to keep it close by halftime. But I do think that near the tail end again, Penn State's going to take off. Wisconsin has a hard time finishing games, as we saw against USC. up 21-7. They just couldn't score after that. Halftime came and it was like a different team was playing out there. So I think a similar thing's going to happen again, where Wisconsin's going to come out swinging hard. It's going to show a lot of life. Fans are going to get really hyped, but then they're going to be let down again after Penn State just kind of goes on a tear in that second half. Saturday night primetime classic game we have is LSU versus Texas A&M. I didn't really know who I wanted to win this game. I didn't really know who I thought was going to win this game. These two teams I think are very similar in nature, similar to like Ole Miss and Missouri. So it's kind of like a weird mix of the two. So I do have LSU winning this game. I think that they are a better team than Texas A&M. I've always been saying that Texas A&M is a fraud team, but against that game against Missouri, they did show some life that I didn't expect with that blowout win. But I will say LSU is going to win this game 27-24. Primetime game we have is another crosstown rivals. Kansas Jayhawks versus Kansas State. This is going to be a close one. Not because Kansas is good, it's just because crosstown rival games are always super fun to watch. -10 is showing it's going to be similar close. I do have Kansas State winning this, though. Kansas State's a better team. Kansas is not a good team, but I do think it's going to stay close just because it's that energy, that crosstown rivalry that we all learned to love. I do have them winning 24-22 in this one. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, we have SMU versus Duke. Little did everyone know, Duke only has one loss far in this season. But if you look at their schedule, they didn't really play anyone. Similar to the Orange, it's just been a rough year. Duke did beat Florida State, though. But like we said earlier, Florida State sucks this year. So it wasn't much of a win, and it wasn't much of a stamp on the old record. But I do have SMU coming out on top on this one, 35-17. SMU is making a run. Work my words, I do have SMU in the ACC title game and winning it all and getting that guaranteed spot to show the haters that SMU's here to compete in the ACC. Final game of the week for all you newbies. We always do an Iowa team. I am a Hawkeye fan. I love them to death. That's just what I am. Rest in peace, their playoff dreams. But there's still plenty of football to be played, plenty of life to be made. And I do think they should bench Cade McNamara, put the backup in. I think Cade's season's over. I think Iowa's season is essentially done in the eyes of the playoff dream. So I don't think we really need to maximize our efforts on Cade. We should really be focusing on our backups, which is why I think Iowa's going to win this game with ease. 27-10 against Northwestern. Northwestern is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and even the spread has Iowa at -13.5. Even though Iowa doesn't really perform on offense to the best of their abilities. But that's going to be it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Peace.